Hey guys, it's Danny. We're back with another episode of the Swim Good podcast, and we're back with our very special guest, Eric. We're here to deep dive into the season finale of season 4 of Insecure. What a damn doozy. Y'all, we're crying. We're just sad that it's over.
Yeah, that left me hanging. Well, it didn't left me hanging. It just left me hurting. I don't know.
It was an up and down roller coaster, I would say, and we got a drop kick at the end. But half the internet guessed it anyway. So let's just get into the beginning. The opening scene, Lawrence and Issa are at
This market,
like a farmer's market, and I kid you not, like I must have watched the trailer for episode 10 probably like 20 times, just trying to break down everything, every like sort of picture frame. And I think it was like, it's like a 10-second trailer. And I couldn't figure out, I was like, I feel like this Issa at the florist asking about funeral flowers was some kind of
message.
Yeah, premonition. I was like, I knew no one's gonna die, but I was like, something's gonna die.
She says something about the funeral flowers. What's the difference? I'm mainly concerned because of the price. And then Lawrence walks up right then.
Ooh, because of the cost that the death of this relationship has to play, though. Okay, let's not go back. So Lawrence says that he's got the job.
Right. He's moving to San Francisco.
Mm-hmm. He asked Issa if it's
kind of like,
what are they doing? And Issa happily is like, I'm trying to make this work. This makes me happy. It's a 45-minute flight. Like, it's
That's
nothing.
an easy, that's an easy one I can get over.
But I think that what I have been seeing was that over the last few episodes, because San Francisco was just kind of hanging in the background.
They were setting it up. It was a snowball for San Francisco.
Since episode 7, right?
Yeah.
Since episode 7, when Molly and Andrew went to Mexico or came back from Mexico, and they ran into Lawrence at the airport, excuse me.
Right. The setup there.
We knew he was like San Francisco was in the background. And so it's been hanging there for 3 episodes. And ultimately we knew that this was something that was going to pull him
because it was mentioned in
from
almost
Issa.
Every episode.
Yeah, it was always there. Issa never made a big deal about it, but it was always there. And so I think we knew that there was going to have to be a decision made. But it seems like they were willing to, to attempt to work it out.
They were going to try.
They were going to try. I've always maintained that I didn't think Issa coming out of LA would ever happen, because LA is like a background central character to the show.
Right.
And I can't see Issa outside of LA. But didn't he say, he even asked her if she would move?
And she said, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, we've seen the episode, so maybe it's a little less maybe now.
Yeah.
But, so that's the first scene.
Yeah.
They talked. They're going to try to make it work. Cool.
They have to Molly. Molly is
with Andrew at the work event.
Yeah, some work function.
Right.
Andrew looks bored. We've been seeing Andrew, kind of getting frustrated with Molly for a couple episodes in
Andrew's
a couple
been
scenarios.
Speaking with his facial expressions in the last few episodes a lot.
Yeah, and so he's like, I'm kind of bored, of doing this lawyer thing with you, and I want to go somewhere else. But Molly convinces him to stay. You can see that he doesn't want to stay. So I just think that it's interesting that BJ walks up at that moment, because if you remember, I can't remember which episode BJ was introduced, but Molly told her, the other lady lawyers, that she mentored BJ. Right. And I think that's like a little Michelle Obama and Barack Obama shout out because Michelle Obama was Barack Obama's mentor at the law firm. So maybe, we'll get a little black love with Molly. Oh, wait.
Nathan and Issa catch up after that. They have their quick little, I just want to tell you how I felt. My bad for going in on Lawrence.
I did think that Nathan was going to, I don't know, maybe
profess
say
some
more.
Love,
but he didn't, because ultimately he said, I'm not trying to
make your life more complicated than it is.
Woo!
I know that was
y'all
go back and watch the episode again because you will see some things that you didn't catch first time round. Nathan saying, I don't want to make your life more complicated. That's just like, man.
Yeah.
It's heavy.
It's heavy because that's what we know Lawrence
happens
ends up
later
doing
on.
Then.
Yeah. So they go to friends, and I knew I was like, either they're not going to be friends because Nathan's pushing up too hard, or they're gonna be like, all right, we're gonna move into a different stage and we can be friends. Let's rock, and that's what they did. So
But I want to stick here because I predicted that there was more in the future for Nathan and Issa. A lot, you especially didn't think so, but a lot of other people didn't either. By the way, I totally have an Instagram page at Swim Good Podcast. So please follow me. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel while you're listening.
Plug.
I gotta hit them with the plug. I almost never say it. But I felt like once Nathan professed his feelings, once he professed that he wanted Issa in his life, like last episode, in episode 9, and she accepted that, and she was like, you could just see, like, she's like, I'm gonna make this work with Nathan, and I want to have Lawrence, but I'm just gonna keep it clear, keep the boundaries clear. I'm just like he's in there because Lawrence is going to mess up, like.
No, you thought Lawrence was going to move.
Okay,
it wasn't that he's going to mess
whatever.
up, that he's going to move.
I thought he was going to move, and he was going to say, because we know Lawrence is sometimes per Nathan.
Okay.
I thought, sorry, let me just finish my thought. I thought that the reason how Lawrence would mess up is that he was going to move and be on the fence about making a long distance thing work. Because a lot of people are. It's not unrealistic to...
It's true, but if you watch the progression of Lawrence in the last couple episodes, Lawrence, I know people are a little bit like Lawrence didn't put himself out there. He didn't come hard with the "you make me happy" in that scene where she stopped at the door. But if you actually look at the steps he took, right, he's making an honest and concerted effort to get in front of Issa, tell you how it felt, and try again. So in my mind, that was it was momentum towards Lawrence trying to make this work, right? Like, we know Lawrence wants to be married, wants to have a family. Damn, Gondola. And now, and that's like his dream state, right? Good job, good relationship, start a family, all of that. So he really wanted to make that work with Issa, regardless of San Francisco. He was being just as upfront and honest about San Francisco in this scenario as Issa is being about Nathan in this scenario. Here's a potential sticky point. Let's be honest about it, because this is how we went wrong last time. Can we get past it by being honest and open about it? And they both decided in both scenarios that they could. And then a baby got thrown in their laps. So, that happened.
It's so hard to discuss this episode, right? And not
that's
discuss
just jumping
the
right
end.
at the end.
Just not.
We're trying to go in order, y'all. We're trying to go in order.
We really are.
So Nathan and Issa have their conversation. We're like, cool, wiping our hands clean of that. Moving on. We're still so early in the conversation. Molly and Andrew then are back at home.
Yeah, Molly's condo or whatever.
Andrew sits down on the couch and he's giving face all over again. He got consternation written all over his face.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, it's about the missing LaToya reunion.
Looking for Latoya.
Looking for Latoya reunion. Yo, how do you have a reunion for looking for Latoya?
And they haven't found her yet. I was just so confused.
It's the most... Oh, guess who they haven't found yet also?
Tiffany.
And what do we have to do to find her? Unite.
Look. Oh.
Okay, so what do you think about the Molly and Andrew scene at that point?
Yeah. I think we saw... Well, here's what I think. I think we saw a snippet of Andrew's frustration with Molly in episode 9. Because remember, they kept getting cut off, right? Almost like every time Andrew tried to kind of not poke at her, but kind of show that he's like upset about something.
Yeah.
And she would kind of brush it off, like they would get interrupted. And so last episode, Nathan and Issa walked in to their place, and their conversation got interrupted. And even earlier, after she had gone to therapy and Andrew was trying to push her on, why didn't you talk to Issa? Like,
she
actually say it. She shut it down. He brought up the brother, and she's like, she was like, I'm just looking for Latoya. I just think that Andrew has felt cut off, from fully expressing himself for a while, and I think he's tried. You used what was your favorite
soft
phrase
firm.
about?
Like, I feel like, at the very beginning, his biggest fault was not speaking up for how he felt about things, like being honest, being forthright, like I'm feeling small and whatnot. But he also had the issue of I'm not opening up, right, to you. And
that was her issue.
Exactly. She pulled that out of him. Yeah. She pulled that out of him. And then for a long time, he would be what I call soft firm in the way that he would try to guide her in making different decisions, whether it's with him or with other people. And now we see that they're having this conversation, and he realizes that soft firm isn't working when it comes to issues that he has with her that directly relate to them. And so he sees that just a little bit with it worked slightly with Issa, with him telling her about Issa in last episode, try a little harder. So they had their little game night.
Right.
But in this episode and in previous episodes, whenever it's about him, she shuts him down very quickly. Very quickly. It's about the brother, right? He's less capable of being
or when she was working
right
a lot, she would just like, put him off. And some of that stuff is just like off camera, like when she was with the other lady lawyers and they were working late, and her and Andrew had already had an issue about her kind of putting him off, and she was like, oh, I'll stay later too, and my man, he gets it. Or the time when he came over and she had to get up out of bed and go work, and then she was like, I'll just be
right,
another hour, and then
it's 3 o'clock in the morning when she comes back.
Yeah.
So he has a hard time talking about his own direct issues. So he dialed it up this episode. He almost dialed it up last episode.
I think in the episode, yeah. Well, I think that he went to handle with his brother because I think he felt that was like more appropriate.
Right.
And he did let her off, but I think where she went wrong, like the night before that, the night of the fight with the brother.
Right.
Like you could see like they were separated in the bed, and they both like weren't sleeping.
Right.
But they weren't talking about it either. And you remember the last thing, when she got out of the pool, she said F you to his brother. And so after also, making a more generalized sort of view about
your people,
Asians. And so, so it was a little bit messy.
So they're pretty much, well, we'll
so
see.
Then
Kelly pops up in the episode. They get
interrupted by Kelly.
Right.
And so Molly answers the phone. She and everybody else rush to Kelly's house because Kelly not Kelly's house, Tiffany's house, because Tiffany is missing.
Mm-hmm.
And we knew we were waiting for Insecure
I was like, yo, episode
to come
10
back.
is going to be something crazy that'll bring everybody back together, because it's going to force perspective. It has to force perspective. The people will be like, oh, I need to stop thinking about myself. There's more important things in life than this petty stuff I'm dealing with right now.
Yeah.
And so at the table, when Derek is on the phone trying to figure out where his wife is, Kelly's at the table, Molly and Issa are standing in the doorway, and I guess this is Tiffany's mom and sister. Yeah. And Tiffany's mom says, last night I dreamed of catfish. I went to the Googles and looked that up. And basically dreaming of catfish means you're trying to figure things out.
Wow.
And it's like, yo, everybody in that room at that point was trying to figure things out. Everybody in this cast is trying to figure things out at this point. So I just thought that was really poignant. The writers are just so on point with every single piece of dialogue in the show.
Yeah, I mean, what I really liked about that, I mean, there were a few scenes, but you could tell, like, I feel like the Insecure writers work in parallels. Like, they work in parallel storylines. And so when everybody's on the bus, going to find Tiffany at the hotel, Issa and Derek are having a conversation just about, that nobody's perfect and everybody goes through things, and sometimes we miss things, and we miss signs, but it's not purposeful. It doesn't make us bad people, and that even when you're missing those signs, that it doesn't mean that you weren't trying to be better. And you could see Molly kind of looking at Issa, like Molly kind of sat back in that conversation, and it allowed her to get a little bit of perspective at Issa, and probably at their friendship, in a way that she didn't have perspective for their friendship last episode, in episode 9. And so we have like another situation when they get off the bus.
Starts on the bus with white male Karen. He said, "You are, if I had..."
You're like my inner black woman. That's
exactly. Like... Yeah.
It started as some like, oh, I'm so connected to you. Like, I'm going to enter into your space.
Exactly.
One, I'm not going to read the room, right? Which is that you're busy and you're on the phone.
Right.
And I'm going to insert my, like, I'm making it a compliment. So, like, you should take it as that. But it was just like wrong time, wrong space. Like,
back up.
Like, I don't need this. Like, I'm doing something, and then
as soon as I push back,
when she wasn't receptive of it, then all of a sudden
I'm like
he like
antagonist.
Immediately became an antagonist in the situation.
Oh, she's on the phone, guys.
Tried to call the officer. Well, he said that he mocked her being on the phone and being busy, and then also when the girls get off the bus.
Talk about a poignant moment.
He's trying to like sick officers on her, to say like she's the problem, and definitely with everything that's going on.
I know that was like Central really, Park, like literally.
Yeah, and it was really interesting how Insecure has tackled policing. I think this is like only the second time in the 4 seasons, but it's always an interesting. They always discuss it, but kind of take like an interesting twist on it. Let's move on. So they get
to the hotel.
Yeah.
And I just really thought that I love the way Insecure is filmed, like the cinematics of it, and the way they position everything. And I noticed that when they were in the hallway outside Tiffany's room, that all the girls were set back, but they were there like, we still have your back, you know? But Derek stood at the threshold of the door, hoping to be let in. Yeah. And I noticed he still did not cross that threshold. Yeah. She stepped out into his arms. And I thought that was just like it was just really well
shot.
Really well shot.
Well directed, probably,
yep.
as well. Yeah, I mean, I think when it said a lot for kind of like, one, the sort of special intimacy or bond between a husband and wife. And how your friends and your friendships are still
can
very
respect that and support it.
Yeah, and they're still there, and they're very important. But particularly when a husband and wife like have a child, and a wife is going through something such as like postpartum, like it really is like it's centered between that couple. And Tiffany stepping out into Derek's arms was really her stepping out of her depression to let him in a way that it seems like she hadn't been letting him in, probably in the months, that she's been going through it. And I thought it was a really poignant moment. It was simple, and I think we discussed that Insecure doesn't waste words.
Yeah, because you wanted more from Tiffany in that moment.
Yeah, you kind of wanted just more dialogue. But if you actually watch the moment, it says so much. It says so much.
And Derek also said a lot on the bus.
He did. Yeah, exactly.
That gave it the
and
words.
So it doesn't always. They don't repeat things. They don't waste sort of that. They don't waste. I don't know.
30 minutes, you got to just slice down.
Yeah, but some shows may have like a lot of dialogue, but they're not going to repeat dialogue. So, they'll give you the information, but they're not going to like have another character repeat it. So yeah, I was happy just to see like that they acknowledged it, and hopefully we see, maybe what steps are being taken next season to help support her. It'll probably again be in the background because Tiffany is a background character. Right. I did like that.
So after this scene, Molly goes back and hangs out back to Andrew's spot in order to finish their conversation.
Yeah. And it's done.
Just thinking about it now, I realized that also had some crazy positioning. Molly's pointed at him. He's pointed straight ahead.
Okay. I'm just going to take your word for it just because I don't remember.
No. I mean, she's like leaning into him. I want to make this work. And he's just like, you know what? My energy's not even directed at you right now. I'm over it. I'm done. And
it seems like she's trying like really hard in that moment, right? In a way that we haven't seen Molly try
but I think
at all.
That was the perspective she gained not only on Issa on the bus, but with Andrew as well, right? Not everybody is perfect. Sometimes we're all trying, and everybody needs to try more, or something like that to some degree.
I kind of feel like with Molly, it's more just about just relationships in general, and that sometimes like what she mentions is that this was the longest relationship either of them have had, which I didn't, we never got that nugget before. We knew from Molly, but we don't know Andrew like that, so we didn't know that this was also his first his longest relationship. And so I do think that sometimes you can enter into something and just be fighting for the sake of it. And I can remember being a young person, and you like relationships do funny things. Sometimes you stay for like the history, right? Like is that just because you have history with somebody,
familiarity,
and so sometimes it's like and when Andrew said like, what are you fighting for? Like, he just really looked at her, and I really think that was the first time he kind of positioned himself towards her in that moment. If I'm remembering,
he turned to her and asked her directly. He's just
like, what are you doing all this fighting for?
Like, cut out the
because
BS.
Essentially,
it's not about everything else.
Yeah, well, essentially, she could have been fighting a little bit harder for them, for more reciprocity.
And I love you.
Yeah, we never got it. I mean, episode 7 tried to convince me, and I was like, okay. But I feel like we were all mad at Molly, so it was like really hard to take that in,
I think they work well from a chemistry perspective, but they give me the same thing Issa and Nathan give me. They have a good time together, but in terms of like longevity, I don't see it. True. You can't say this is my opinion. It's just an opinion. This is what I get.
It's categorically untrue.
This is what I get.
That's fine. We'll jump into that.
So
this episode's already longer than I want it to be, but it's fine. We'll deal.
Let me say one thing. So Andrew gives her the same exact message that that Molly gave Issa in the episode prior. She was like, "We are not on the same page. I do not think we fit."
Oh, yeah.
And in a roundabout way, she was just as speechless as Issa was. That's what she...
And she kind of was, like, sputtering through it. Like, she was, like, tearing up and...
No words.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was like, I couldn't tell if her crying was a confirmation of, like, yes, absolutely, I want this.
Because she would
or
go between nodding and
I
shaking
want.
her head. It was just she was completely bamboozled. She didn't know what to say in the moment, and
she didn't know
volumes.
And going back to episode 9 when she was in therapy, she did talk about feeling so tense and like something was like coming at her or something like that, like something like something was gonna drop or something, and she couldn't figure out what it was. And so I think that she's been so focused, remember, because she said this, she's been so focused on Issa as the problem. Now Issa is removed from her life, and now she sees that her relationship is the problem, and that has nothing to do with Issa. And Issa has said,
she's the problem in her relationships.
Sure. And Issa has said, if it doesn't work out with Andrew, it's not going to be because of me, girl.
That's true.
Issa said that in their major fight in episode 5.
Very
so,
true.
They have a lot to talk about.
Yes, they do.
But were you surprised? Do you think that... Here's the thing. It seems like the writing's on the wall, like it's over. But it didn't necessarily... They didn't show us a scene where it was confirmed that they're done.
That Insecure doesn't waste words. They don't need to spell it all the way out.
Molly's going back to her rotation. Molly finna go back to Molly because that's what Molly does best. I think so. I think what do you do when you break up?
I think she's going to bury herself in work.
Here's the thing. She tried so hard. Okay, but let's not forget who Molly is, okay? Molly has always been out there in those streets. Mm-hmm. Molly has always had a consistent rotation. Despite the fact that she's wanted more, she didn't know how to do more. She always led first with sex. But now she's had her first
long-term relationship. So she now knows how to do more. So maybe. I'm just saying maybe. I don't know.
We talk about them not growing that fast.
No, absolutely. They're not growing that fast. But I think that they are growing. So I think her next growth point will be to analyze who she dates a little bit more keenly.
It's going to
I think she's going to date. I don't think that she's going to hop.
She's going to have office love.
With BJ. Exactly. That's not rotation. That's dating. I don't think she's gonna fall
into anything serious with BJ. But I didn't realize how tall BJ was. They look like a good match.
I don't see it for BJ. I don't know.
You don't know BJ.
I don't.
You don't know BJ like I know BJ. I don't know BJ.
So
okay, what's next? Are we at the what?
At the end of the day, Molly and Andrew are done.
Big scene. Okay.
And now we are here.
And we immediately go to Issa at home. Issa's at home. She's processing what happened to Tiffany. Lawrence comes over looking all forlorn. Only the way, in a way that only Lawrence can look. Like, why does his face always look like that?
Lawrence
that's sort of like he has something to say. You can always see Lawrence has mad words. Like, he always has that kind of I'm about to drop a bomb on you kind of look. In a not with but anyway, he did come with a bomb in his hand.
He came with the bomb, and the bomb is at Condola. And the bomb is that Condola has a baby.
Condola is pregnant.
Yes, there we go. Better.
Condola has a whole baby in her belly.
Life forming inside of her at the moment.
And half the internet guessed it. How many episodes? 3 episodes? 2 episodes ago?
I didn't peep that.
Yeah, episode 8. Because everybody was like, why is she blowing him up this much if she's not pregnant?
Why didn't she tell him last episode?
But that's the thing. He said that they talked, and it's done.
And it's done.
So that part is
there's some iffiness there.
weird.
But at the end of the day, I don't think we're going to get that question answered.
Yeah, we're probably not going to get it answered.
We have...
What do we do?
Here's the drama.
What were you? I'm so discombobulated that I can't even get my words out. When he said it, and I love how they flashed to
the conversation, because you know you wanted to see that.
Between him and Issa, and then him and Condola. And how they were essentially answering, like she would sometimes answer Issa's questions, and
did you see the energy transference that occurred? Because in Lawrence's scene with Condola, he is flustered. He's like, I'm fucked. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, I'm confused. He's just upside down. And then in the scene with him and Issa is that way, and she has no idea how she's going to feel, what she's going to do, how to respond. But that is the monkey wrench. That is the wedge, the kicker. This is the what did Nathan say at the beginning of the episode? He said, I don't want to make your life more complicated than it is.
Right.
And boom.
That's what the new Zaddy will say. Okay. Let me make your life easier, baby girl. Yeah.
I mean, even Issa said, I want to get rid of the things that are dramatic, right? And I want to do the things that make me happy, and
Yeah. I don't think that's her exact quote, but you're right.
It was a paraphrase.
Okay. Here's the thing. I was not thinking that Condola was going to be pregnant. To be honest, it just felt a little bit dramatic for Insecure. And Insecure is like a slow burn.
I know, but we're going into season 5.
They always do cliffhangers or big drops, and it's usually like a kick in the gut to Issa at the end of every season. Or it'll be like to us as an audience, like maybe we'll see Issa starting to win, and
I need to go back and watch all the season finales.
Yeah, and then something else will happen. But to me, I just felt like this was their chance, and honestly, seeing Love get another shot, over the last couple episodes was really beautiful. And so just to have it kind of end like this was sad. I'm not going to lie. I didn't think that Issa and Lawrence were going to work right now. If you check my last post, or maybe my second to last post on Instagram, @SwimGoodPodcast, follow me. I felt that, I did feel like Issa and Lawrence would end up together, but I hung on to the fact that Issa and Lawrence, did I say Issa and Lawrence first? Okay. I feel that Issa and Nathan are going to end up together for season 5. That's how I felt. But I felt that as long as we get an Issa and Lawrence wedding at the end, at the end of this show, whenever it is, hopefully season 6 or season 7, I don't know, that I would be fine with that. But this whole baby is just though? I don't know.
You saying that right now makes me think about the way Insecure operates. Insecure is always like, this is real life. It's messy. Not everything works out the way it should. And I'm just going to sort of, in most of the scenarios, I'm going to hand you the real life messiness in a roundabout way. This is, a very hardcore way to do it. Usually when they hand out messiness that it's involved with Issa, it's right in your face, right? The cheating, the this, and everything like that. So at the end of the day, we can have a Lawrence and Issa wedding, but it's just plus real life messiness.
If that's what these two characters want, because
True.
At the end of the day, they all have choices, and a lot of times, yes, that is people's life, but people can choose. I mean, here's the thing, is that Issa and Lawrence have this history, and then now, and they discovered that even a year after their breakup, that they still had that bond and that connection. But bringing a whole baby into it,
right? Is this what you really want?
That's going to be because now in a different way, Lawrence is going to have a different bond and connection to somebody else that has nothing to do with Issa. And how do you compare the two? She cannot compare to his connection to his child and to the woman who's having his first child, you know? And so that just takes away, you know, a piece of that first for anybody who is probably like your first love, you know? And for a lot of people, that would be the kicker, you know? And sometimes, or oftentimes in life, it's like, yeah, most people don't end up with their first loves. And so then what does life look like? You have to have a whole, you have to discover love again and differently. And will it ever feel the same as the first time? Probably not. It will be different, but it will be yours. And so maybe Lawrence just doesn't exist in Issa's future at all. Damn.
I don't know. I mean, the possibilities are there. Nobody
because
knows.
I'm just like, a whole baby is gonna, it's just gonna bond him and Condola. And at the end of the day, he might have his feelings that Condola messed this up for him, you know, in terms of him and Issa being back together. But Lawrence, being Lawrence, he's gonna do the right thing. And like, I don't know. I think without Issa in the picture, because Issa's left that scenario saying, this is too much.
Yeah.
And I can totally understand that. Like, there is a point. Yeah. Like, we can get through a lot of things.
I can do San Francisco. I can't do Condola's baby.
I can't do Condola's baby. Like, because, yeah. That's a whole mess. It's a whole lot. It's a whole mess. Like, and yeah.
So Can I ask you a question? Do you blame Lawrence?
Wait, do I blame Lawrence for what?
If it feels like it's really easy to be like, this is Lawrence's fault for messing it up.
I mean, I think any person who lives their life in such a way that they're not careful and considerate of all possibilities, then yeah, you have to blame. Like, I mean, he asked Condola, like, is it mine? And like, why would you want this? And those questions are valid, but I think that sometimes it's easy to say, like, why would you want this with me? Like, she had a whole marriage, and divorced, and like she said, like, I wasn't ready with Mark, who was her ex-husband. But now I am. And you could question, like, why is she ready with Lawrence? I don't think it's so much that she's ready with Lawrence, but you can never know when a woman is ready. Like, Condola has a lot of her stuff together.
You know what I read into that? I read into it that
I think it's just
potentially
age and time.
She and Mark had a baby. So potentially she's had an abortion previously, and so that she doesn't want to go through that again.
Yeah, and that, that's a real thing. And, we don't know how long Condola was married. You never know when your clock is up. And so if you get an opportunity, I think one thing that men can never understand about women is that, I could be ready. I could not be ready last week and be completely ready this week. And that's just, how things go. And so you can never sort of take yourself out of the equation whenever you're entering into that kind of relationship with a woman, like, because she can always make the decision, you know what, I think I can do this on my own, whatever. But that, most women are not going to do it on their own. I think most men would, stay around even if they don't like the woman. And that's the thing, like, Lawrence, it's not like they don't like each other. I mean, if Condola had not asked Lawrence, if your ex hadn't cheated, would you still be with her? He wouldn't even be with Issa right now. So that's the crazy thing. Is she pushed them back together, and now she's pulling them apart. So,
boomerang condola.
Yeah. Condolences to you. Condolences to your new relationship. It's kind of crazy because I think sometimes we put stuff on like relationships on TV shows, and I'm like, Sex and the City went a whole 6 seasons, and I guess one of them had a baby,
right.
Like on accident. But like, this is a whole series dedicated to sex and like, with white women, and, for the most part, babies like wasn't a thing. Like being concerned about pregnancy rather wasn't a thing.
Right.
And so anytime that I feel like fans of the show have brought up, there's a baby, somebody's pregnant, like probably every season. And it's like, well, why? Like why does everything have to be so dramatic? In other sitcoms, like people have sex with lots of people and babies don't pop up. But it happened, and now I'm like, I don't know. Do you think that this is going to be a straight pregnancy, or maybe that the writers might let Lawrence off the hook next season?
That's a harsh way to put that.
I don't know. Here's the thing: if they did let him off the hook with a condola miscarriage, would Issa take him back? Because at that point, she already knows. So it's like
season 5, not till season 6.
Not till season 6. Yeah, like I feel like once I already knew, like to me, the baby was in the world. So like you're tainted, it's over. Like, yeah, I wouldn't.
Yeah, but without the burden, it gives Issa the chance to be gracious. Then to say, nobody's perfect. Nobody lives a perfect lives. There's been a lot that's tried to keep us separated. Do we want this?
You're trying to keep it logical, but
no, I'm trying to keep
love is not logical.
I'm trying to end up. Listen, we're talking about not only the irrationality of love, but also the fictitiousness of writing. Right? It's a creative project, and at the end of the day, this series can only go on for so long. What can be the end of the series? I need me an Insecure wedding movie, which means that Lawrence and Issa got to get back together. That's just where I'm at. I don't know about you.
Well, if COVID-19 turns into COVID 2021, we'll just, I don't know. When will we ever get season 5? Like,
who knows?
So anyway, guys, thanks for listening. This is our finale episode on Insecure. Stay tuned for other topics, maybe I can find a new show. If you have any shows that you want to recommend to me to watch for review, I'll be honest, I don't do reality shows. So if you want to give me any scripted series that we can watch together, let me know. Let me know if you guys are watching Michaela Cole's new show. I cannot remember the name of it right now. It's like How Did We Get Here or something like that. No, I'm gonna ruin your life or something like that. We can talk about that. So anyway, thanks for listening. Subscribe, please. Like this video and leave us a comment, and follow me on Instagram at Swim Good Podcast. Once again, this is Danny.
And this is E.
And we're out.